We've been hearing about so many games being canceled, studios going through layoffs, or even completely being shut down. And just a couple of weeks ago, we talked about how Contraband, an Xbox game, was canceled. It was a SBI title, so gamers were not particularly saddened by that news. But now we're finding out that they're closing offices and laying off more staff. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, we always talk about the sweet baby ink curse that either a game comes out and it doesn't make money, gamers hate it, or, of course, it gets canceled, and that is what happened to Contraband. It had been announced 4 years ago, and well, it seems that behind the scenes they were working on it, but very slowly. It wasn't even close to being done, and then we found out that it was canceled. And I'm not going to shed a tear because they decided to work with Sweet Baby Inc., and I don't really have a lot of love for any of the major companies in the industry. In this case, it was Xbox, but now we're finding out that the Sweet Baby Inc. curse strikes again with this project and studio, because Avalanche Studios, the developer behind the recently canceled Contraband, has announced its plans to close its office in Liverpool and lay off an unknown number of employees, which I think we all knew was the natural progression of things. When a game that was seemingly going to be big gets canceled, right? They have to get rid of people that were working on it. And even when a game comes out, usually a lot of those people are shifted around the studio, or they end up being, fired, or their contracts expire because the project is over and they're no longer needed, and you only need to keep a small amount of people on for DLC and future expansions. And with Contraband, it wasn't even a game that we ever saw gameplay of. We basically had just seen an Elder Scrolls 6 teaser where they showed off a couple of CGI scenes, and that was really it. Not enough to really build hype anyway, but from the sounds of it, it doesn't seem like it was going to really connect with people on the way that maybe they expected. It was described as a co-op smuggler's paradise, so very similar to even something like Fair Games, which I also don't think is going to go over well for Sony. But in a statement posted on the studio's website, Avalanche says that the decision comes after an internal review and in light of current challenges to its business and the industry as a whole. And yeah, a lot of studios have been going through layoffs, but at the same time, you shouldn't have ever announced a game years and years in advance, because you could have just silently canceled this. Sure, there might have been a few people on the team that would have taken to social media to voice how their game was canceled, but people wouldn't be able to point and laugh at you. And to top that off, if you hadn't ever announced partnerships with companies like Sweet Baby Inc. and you had told them to never put that on their website, yeah, you wouldn't be facing so much scrutiny. This review has led to the difficult conclusion that we must make changes to our staffing and locations. As a result, we are proposing to close our Liverpool studio and to initiate a collective consultation process as required by UK law. This will impact all Avalanchers in Liverpool. And of course, this is not the only game, right, that they had ever made. Just Cause is one of their other major series, but at the same time, it really seems like they weren't focused on that series, and Contraband was supposed to be the next latest and greatest thing for them. And we knew that they had said that they were going to evaluate the project's future because they had stopped development, but I highly doubt that they're going to magically just pick it up again. They also had worked on Rage 2, a title that had come out and didn't quite meet their expectations, but again, we do know Contraband is an SBI title. It previously was on their website before they scrubbed their site. It said that they worked on sensitivity reading, character bios, and script writing. So I don't think that this game was ever going to come out and be the best, but it's like the Sweet Baby Inc. touch of death. Every single game that they work on ends up failing or facing major controversy. I mean, technically, like Alan Wake 2 has made its money back all these years later. Something like God of War Ragnarok was successful even though it faced major controversy. controversy. And then you have the Kill the Justice Leagues, which lost $250 million. You have the Tales of the Shire, which we don't know the budget, but it clearly didn't make its money back. And basically nobody's playing it anymore, the South of Midnights. And it seemed that Contraband was similar to South of Midnight, where this was supposed to be a big, like, Xbox SBI partnership, and it flopped. I mean, we know that South of Midnight on Steam had an all-time peak of 1,438. And yes, this did go onto Game Pass, and it is on other platforms, but at the same time, they still need individual copies to sell, and that clearly didn't happen in-game right now, 62, but that's because the all-time peak was so low. Tales of the Shire was a game that, for all intents and purposes, should have came out and been a massive success. There are millions and millions of Lord of the Rings fans out there. It was a cozy farming sim, it was set in the Shire, it was supposed to be really cute, and unfortunately, it was abysmal. I did not like it at all whatsoever. It was so boring. The visuals were terrible. The gameplay wasn't even that good. I was so sad when I played this because I wanted it to be good, but another SBI title at the bottom of the trash bin. All-time peak 2 months ago was 6,723, and in-game right now is a measly 360. And this is a game that's supposed to be like an Animal Crossing, right? Where you go back every day, you play a little bit, you keep up with your farms, and you keep up with the NPCs, and you see what's going on and if anything's changed. And it failed. It is so sad to see so many games releasing and being bad because, as I say all the time, I want games to come out and I want them to be good. I, in theory, want every game to come out and be phenomenal and be a great experience because I love video games, but I don't trust the activists that are in the industry. I do not trust the people who really only got hired because of their sexuality. The DEI hires don't really know how to make a good content. Maybe once in a blue moon, right? There will be a game that comes out that's made by a team of activists that is half decent, but I think we all knew that Contraband was probably going to come out and probably be bad, and either way, it was going to be in the middle of a major controversy because it was a Sweet Baby title, and so many people were dunking on the cancellation. I know that Phantom Pulse had posted today, Sweet Baby Inc. client Avalanche Studio announces office closure and more layoffs after it ended active development on Contraband. Contraband appears to be canceled after 4 years and one lone cinematic trailer, which is insane to me. You should not be announcing a game unless it is almost in a finished state, in my opinion. Look at what happened with Perfect Dark. It was basically a doctored trailer. They said, oh yeah, I mean, the game runs, but you saw all that runs. Avalanche worked on Contraband for 5+ years without a single pixel shown to the public and asked for more funding. This has to stop, but I'm also sick of seeing games canceled that we wanted to play. More layoffs after Contraband cancellation. Ha ha ha. Oh, I'm so sad. People are pointing out that Avalanche Studios has an active and stated commitment to supporting the LGBTQ+ community through their workplace culture, employee resource groups, and participation in industry events like Pride. Now, of course, companies can do this. I don't think that they should be doing it. And really, all they're doing is dividing their audience by boasting to the world their DEI commitments. If somebody is talented and they are the right pick for the job, they should get that job regardless of their gender or their skin color or their sexuality. But the problem is that they went so far in one direction that those are the only people that they're hiring and not because of merits, which is just so pathetic to see. Is the great DEI purge finally here? I don't want to celebrate too early. No, I need a Just Cause 5. Who would have thought making games no one wants to play would lead to this? Damn, they made good combat vehicles gameplay. Sad that it had to be this way. Never heard of Contraband before, so no skin off of my back. Another casualty of woke. If they leaned even further into 80s action movie land instead of going soy, they'd be extremely healthy. So many games are being canceled, so many studios are being closed. Not surprised, and nothing of value was lost. So I'm curious to see if any of these developers come out and trash the studio and trash the industry. It wouldn't really surprise me because they typically don't take this too well, but Avalanche has closed an office, they're laying off staff, and of course, their big new game, Contraband, is, well, another victim of the sweet baby curse. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this important and informative, make sure to give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.